Listen carefully, because what I'm about to say will feel like it was taken from a private conversation happening behind the veil. Something in the unseen has been speaking your name softly, urgently, repeatedly. And if you can feel even the faintest vibration in your chest right now, it's because your spirit already knows. Not the kind that announces itself with noise, excitement, or signs in the sky. No, this one begins quietly, like the moment before a storm breaks, or the stillness before a door you never expected suddenly swings open or shuts forever. Tonight, I want to take you somewhere, not with your eyes, but with your spirit, into a place most people never access. A place where whispers become warnings, and warnings become instructions, and instructions become transformation. But before we walk any further, let me ask you something. Have you felt it, that strange pressure around your heart, recently? That feeling like you're being watched, but not by people, by heaven. That sense that something is rearranging itself around your life, because if you have, you're not imagining it. You've been pulled into a spiritual moment that isn't random, accidental, or casual. It's intentional, it's precise, it's divine. For a long time now, you've been walking through what I call a silent season, where God doesn't say much, people don't understand much, and life doesn't explain much. A season where you felt overlooked while others were celebrated, isolated while others had circles misunderstood even when you said nothing, tired, even after resting, watched, even in solitude, heavier without knowing why. It's not depression. It's not burnout. It's not sadness. It's the weight of something wholly forming around you, because before heaven moves, the atmosphere grows quiet. Before a new path appears, the old one becomes painfully narrow. Before you are repositioned, you are separated. And this separation, this loneliness, this stillness you've been sitting in, isn't punishment, it's preparation. But that's not the part that made the heavens whisper your name. No, there's something deeper. You need to understand what's been happening behind the scenes. Because recently you haven't just felt lonely, you felt interrupted, haven't you? Strange dreams, sudden anxiety, people acting differently around you, moments where you felt exposed for no reason, times you sensed something shifting in the room, nights you woke up without knowing why. This is not random emotional turbulence. This is a spiritual disturbance, a sign that something was trying to approach you, but something greater was standing in the way. And here is where the first twist comes in. The pressure you thought was life working against you was actually heaven protecting you. You weren't being attacked. You were being redirected, shielded, moved, because someone was trying to step into your life that had no permission to be there. But God closed the door before you could see it open. Let me reveal something that many people will never hear. There is a reason you feel different. There is a reason you don't blend in. There is a reason you've always carried a weight others don't recognize. It's because your spirit has been marked. And the marked ones rarely move through life unnoticed, by heaven or by darkness. You carry a depth others don't understand, sensitivity, others don't feel intuition, others don't hear strength, others don't expect light, others don't see, but most importantly, you carry a spiritual awareness that activates environments. Rooms shift, people stare, atmospheres adjust. Not because of your personality, but because of your energy. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever walked into a room and felt every eye go to you, even if no one said a word? Have you felt people become uncomfortable without you doing anything at all? That's because your presence exposes intention. Your spirit unsettles the hidden. Your light rattles what prefers the dark. And lately, your presence has been doing this even more. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something is rising within you. Here is the twist most people never realize. You thought nothing was happening in your life, but actually, something major already happened. You just didn't see it. A door closed, a connection ended, a path shifted, a plan failed, a conversation died, a person left, and you assumed it was loss, or rejection, or disappointment, or delay. But the truth is deeper. Heaven shut a door you didn't know was dangerous, a door that looked beautiful from the outside but carried poison on the inside. You were spared from something you never even knew was coming. Let that sink in. You think you're waiting for God to answer, but God already answered. You just don't know what He saved you from. And the spiritual pressure you've been feeling, it's the echo of a door that closed in the invisible realm, just seconds before something harmful tried to cross the threshold. There's more you need to hear, because there is a message, one that has been following you, circling you, trying to reach you through signs, dreams, sudden thoughts, repeated numbers, emotional nudges, moments of divine timing, a message you are meant to hear right now, not before, not later. There is something heaven is preparing to reveal about your next season, your next decision, your next spiritual shift. But before I speak it, let me ask you again. Have you felt like you're standing at a doorway but can't tell if it's opening or closing? Have you sensed that something is ending, but you can't see what's beginning? That confusion is the threshold, the place between where you were and where you're meant to be. This is the moment right before the curtain lifts, right before the truth unfolds, right before the next revelation hits your spirit. And in part 2, that revelation will be spoken clearly. But for now, let this sink into you. Heaven has already taken your name into a private meeting. Something is shifting, something is forming, something is aligning itself on your behalf. The whisper was not random. The pressure was not punishment. The silence was not abandonment. It was preparation. And the next thing I'm about to reveal is the reason you were guided to this message today. Before we move deeper, take a breath, because what you're about to hear next doesn't speak to the surface of your life. It speaks to the root. Part 1 opened the atmosphere. Part 2 enters the threshold. Something sacred is happening around you right now, and if your spirit feels slightly tense, awakened, or alert, it's because heaven is drawing you into a moment of decision, not fear, not panic, not pressure, decision. Because spiritual doors don't just open or close randomly, they respond to movement, to alignment, to readiness, to obedience, to timing. And right now, you are standing in front of a door that carries consequence, not earthly consequence. Not earthly consequence, spiritual consequence. This is the moment where the unseen becomes the turning point of your entire journey. Let me pull back the curtain for a moment. Whether you realized it or not, you entered an invisible room, a spiritual chamber, over these last few days or weeks. And once a chosen soul enters that room, everything becomes amplified. Emotions, instincts, dreams, signs, timing, intuition. You've felt this, haven't you? That strange moment where something suddenly felt off, or urgent, or a holy, or a dangerous, even without evidence. That isn't anxiety. That's spiritual perception. And here is the truth you weren't told. Before God reveals the next chapter, He brings you into the room where He measures your readiness, not your worthiness, not your perfection, not your status, not your reputation, your readiness. And that is where you are right now. Let me ask you something. Do you feel like you've been observed, not by people, but by heaven itself? Do you sense that your actions, thoughts, and decisions suddenly carry more weight? If so, you're in the evaluation room, and the door behind you, the one closing, it's not punishment. It's transition. There's something you need to see clearly. Doors in the spiritual realm don't close with anger. They close with mercy. Sometimes a door shuts to protect you. Sometimes a door shuts to redirect you. Sometimes a door shuts to awaken you. Sometimes a door shuts to awaken you. But the most difficult moment is this. When a door shuts because heaven refuses to let you waste another season. You've been carrying potential that's been sitting unused. You've had gifts that have been dormant. You've had wisdom you haven't applied. You've had warnings you ignored. You've had opportunities you didn't respond to. You've had nudges you talked yourself out of. And heaven is no longer willing to let you drift. That's why the spiritual pressure increased. That's why certain connections suddenly shifted. That's why the familiar things in your life no longer feel comfortable. It's the divine push, not to punish you, but to wake you, because what's coming next requires a different version of you, a stronger version, a wiser version, a more decisive version, a more aware version. So, let me reveal something most people never understand about their spiritual walk. When God shakes you, it's never to break you, it's to separate you. To separate distractions from direction, comfort from calling, flesh from spirit, old identity from new assignment, fear from intuition, illusions from truth, and lately, Everything around you has been shaking. People you trusted started showing their true nature. Plans you expected suddenly fell apart. Feelings you suppressed began resurfacing. Truths you avoided became impossible to ignore. Patterns you tolerated became too heavy to carry. This shaking wasn't random. It was surgical. It removed what couldn't follow you into the next chapter. Have you noticed how some things that once mattered no longer move you? How certain habits suddenly feel wrong? How certain voices no longer hold power over you? How your spirit rejects what your mind still tries to accept? That's the shaking. That's separation. That's heaven preparing you. And here's the twist. The shaking is not over. It is about to intensify, not to harm you, but to push you through the door you keep hesitating to walk through. There is something serious I need to tell you, and it's going to hit deep. You are entering a moment of spiritual expiration. Not expiration of life, not expiration of grace, but expiration of opportunity. There are certain doors, very specific doors, that will not stay open forever. There are moments, you seize them, or they disappear. You move, or they dissolve. You answer, or they close. And for months, maybe even years, you've been given nudges to step forward. But you hesitated out of fear, out of uncertainty, out of exhaustion, out of distraction, out of overthinking, out of wounds you never healed, out of cycles you never broke, out of people you never released. But heaven has now reached the last call. This is why this message found you today, because the next door in your life, the one leading to transformation, is starting to close, not because God doesn't love you, but because the season is shifting and you cannot delay any longer. Let me ask you something bold. What truth have you been avoiding? What decision have you been postponing? What calling have you been running from? Your spirit knows. You can feel it. Even now, the door is still open, but only for a short moment longer. Right now, you are standing at a crossroads. To the left is what is familiar, predictable, safe, comfortable, easy, unchallenging, unchanging. To the right is what is divine, unseen, unpredictable, demand. Have you recently felt sudden emotional release, random tears, deep relief, sudden clarity, unusual peace, strange energy shifts, vivid dreams, unexpected intuition, old desires disappearing? That was the indicator. The confrontation already happened. And that's why heaven brought you into silence, so nothing could interfere with the breaking. Up until now, you believed only one door was closing, the door of opportunity, calling, or direction. But here is the twist. There are two doors involved in your spiritual transition. The first door is the one you already know about, the one that's closing because heaven refuses to let you waste your next season. But the second door, this is the hidden one, the one the enemy wanted to keep open, the one tied to your old patterns, the one tied to old versions of yourself. The one tied to old wounds you never realized were affecting you. The one tied to cycles you didn't even recognize. And heaven is not just closing the door of opportunity. Heaven is closing the door of interference. The door behind you is not only shutting to push you forward, it's shutting to prevent something from following you into the next chapter. Something that has been draining your strength silently. Something that has been feeding off your self-doubt. Something that's been triggered every time you tried to rise. And here is the truth. This hidden door cannot stay open any longer. Because if you step through the next season with that door still open, what's behind it will sabotage everything God is preparing for you. This is why the closing feels emotional. Why it feels heavy. Why it feels urgent. Because heaven is not asking you to choose anymore. Heaven is sealing what you couldn't. There is something heaven wants you to understand in this visitation. You were marked. Not marked as in cursed. Marked as in protected. Marked as in selected for something sacred. Marked as in assigned to a higher calling than your circumstances. Marked as in spiritually tracked by heaven for a specific purpose. And because you were marked, you were monitored. You were monitored. You were corrected. You were redirected. You were redirected. You were separated. You were watched over. This marking is why you survived things other people collapsed under. This marking is why your spirit keeps awakening in waves. This marking is why doors open for you at the most unexpected times. This marking is why you feel a different level of pressure than others. And now, this marking is why heaven is closing doors on your behalf, because you do not fully see what is behind you, but heaven does, and heaven refuses to let what's behind you decide your future. Have you felt a strange sense of being guided even when you had no clarity, a quiet push in a direction you didn't plan, a sudden awareness that something is shifting behind the scenes? That's your marking at work. You need to hear this next part carefully. It will explain something you've struggled to understand. Your next season is not random. It carries an assignment attached to it, not a task, not a goal, not a dream, an assignment, something heaven needs you to accomplish. Something that affects not just your life, but the lives of many connected to you, people you haven't even met yet. Souls your journey will touch, destinies your obedience will activate, and this is why heaven became strict with your timeline. This is why certain seasons ended abruptly. This is why certain people were removed. This is why certain opportunities disappeared. This is why certain emotions resurfaced, because heaven is aligning you with something bigger than your comfort. Let me ask you, have you felt recently like something important is coming, even if you can't explain why? Does your spirit feel like it's waiting for a signal? Do you feel like you've been getting prepared without knowing for what? That is your assignment calling you. We'll take you directly into that revelation. The atmosphere around you begins to thicken, not with fear, not with confusion, but with a holy stillness that only appears when something unseen is attempting to reveal itself. It's the same stillness Elijah felt on the mountain. The same stillness the prophet sensed before the whisper came through the wind. The same stillness that visits a person when heaven leans close and prepares them for a truth they were never meant to ignore. And right now, that stillness is surrounding you. A shift is on the edge of your life, and the air around your spirit knows it before your mind does. Because there is one final message heaven needs you to hear before everything changes around you. Imagine this with me. A candle burns in a dimly lit room. The flame flickers steady, then weak, then steady again. The shadows on the wall begin to move, not because anything is touching them, but because something in the spiritual realm is shifting the atmosphere. You feel a tug, a pull, a quiet pressure on your chest. Your spirit stands at attention. It knows something is about to be revealed, and in that dim, still room, a whisper breaks through. This is your final sign. Pay attention. A shiver runs down your spine, not from fear, but from recognition. You felt this before. Right before a major turning point in your life. Right before a chapter closed. Right before God redirected your path in a way you didn't expect. But this time feels different. This time feels final. There is a spiritual door with your name on it. Some of you have felt it in dreams. Some of you have sensed it during prayer. Some of you have noticed strange tension, unexpected silence, or sudden inner restlessness. A door you were meant to walk through. A door connected to your next chapter. A door heaven has been preparing for years. But something has been standing near that door. Something unseen. Something that watched you grow through storms. Something that tried to delay you when you were weakest. Something that recognized your potential long before you did. And now, that spiritual barrier, that resistance, that invisible weight is trembling because the door is about to move. Not because of your strength, not because of your effort, because the season of waiting is reaching its final breath. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like life suddenly paused? Not falling apart, not moving forward, just paused. A strange stillness, conversations quieting. People drifting away, your energy shifting, your spirit becoming more alert than usual. It's the sensation of heaven telling you, wait, watch, something is approaching. Have you felt that lately? Because many people dismiss this feeling. They confuse it with stress, overthinking, or exhaustion. But for those who are spiritually sensitive, for those who carry an internal assignment, for those who have been prepared in hiddenness, that pause is never random. It is spiritual alignment happening around you. It is heaven rearranging pieces you cannot see. Let's go deeper. Recently, you've been feeling Sudden discomfort in familiar environments, random internal pressure, emotional heaviness, for no clear reason, being unable to stay around certain energies, an urge to withdraw, reflect, or isolate a sense that something isn't the same anymore. These are not coincidences, these are symptoms of a spiritual shift. When a divine elevation is near, your spirit becomes hyper-aware. You sense the change before you understand it. Your heart feels the movement before your eyes witness it. Your emotions react before your mind catches up. It is the spiritual equivalent of hearing thunder before rain begins. Because the storm isn't coming against you, it's coming for you to wash away what can't go with you into your next chapter. Let me take you somewhere unseen for a moment. Imagine a room made of light, brighter than the sun, but soft enough to rest in. In this room, your name is spoken, not casually, not accidentally, not loosely, but intentionally, clearly, directly. A voice says, "It is time." Angels acknowledge. The atmosphere listens. Your destiny stands up straight. And the door that once remained shut or delayed or blocked begins to glow from the inside. You were not meant to see this with your physical eyes, but your spirit felt it. That's why you've been restless. That's why everything around you felt off. That's why familiar cycles stop producing comfort. That's why your old environments suddenly feel too small for you. Your spirit got the memo before your mind did. Here is the unexpected part. You are not the only one being prepared. Right now. Now. Someone or something is being removed to clear the path for you. A distraction being dissolved. A counterfeit connection being revealed, a spiritual obstruction being uprooted, a hidden blockage being exposed. This removal is happening quietly, behind the scenes, without warning, without your involvement, because heaven is tired of watching you circle the same mountain. This is why things suddenly feel unstable. This is why certain people pulled away. This is why your old comfort zones feel uncomfortable. This is why your clarity feels sharper than usual. The spiritual clutter is being cleared away. You are being positioned, and everything around you is being rearranged to match your new level. Let me ask you another question. Do you feel like something is being pushed out of your life, even if you don't fully understand why? Understand why? If the answer is yes, you are in the middle of divine interference. Not everything can survive the altitude God is lifting you into. Not everyone can breathe where you're going. Some things fall off not because you failed, but because heaven intervened. Right now, one last spiritual chain is breaking. It could be fear, hesitation, self-doubt, emotional attachment, past pain, a toxic bond, a silent wound, an invisible pressure, a blocked opportunity. Whatever that final chain is, it's snapping. And once it snaps, the door that has been waiting, watching, glowing quietly in the background, will swing open. Not slowly, not gently, not gradually, but suddenly, like a plot twist in a movie, like lightning cracking open a silent sky. The moment will come unexpectedly, but not unprepared. Because your spirit has been sensing this for weeks, you are standing on the edge of a turning point. Heaven is holding a key. The atmosphere is shifting. Your name is echoing in places you cannot see. Your steps are being reordered. Your story is being rewritten. Your next season is being summoned. And this moment right now is the final message before that divine shift becomes visible. The stillness around you is not silence, it is preparation. The pause you feel is not emptiness, it is transition. The discomfort in your soul is not confusion, it is spiritual stretching. Because something is about to change, and the change is closer than you think. Everything around you has been building toward this moment. Every whisper, every pause, every spiritual tension, every quiet shift in your atmosphere. The signs weren't random. The pressure wasn't accidental. The inner restlessness wasn't a mistake. Your spirit has been preparing for something your mind is only now beginning to understand. Because the door that heaven reserved for you, the one that stayed closed for years, the one that refused to move until the time was right, is beginning to unlock. Not tomorrow, not next season, not a one day. Now, right now, something is happening in the unseen realm, and your name is on the movement. The sound only your spirit can hear, you may not realize it, but there is a specific sound the spirit hears when a divine door begins to open. It isn't loud. It isn't dramatic.